that I'm Kim Bourgeois Landry, and what I do is wonky quilting. This is it. This is what it's always going to be because I sort of love it. See, I have a couple more, like I'm working on a Give Me Shelter quilt, which is about, home and hearth. So this is not one of the nicest ones, so it's the one I'm willing to show you, okay? That quilt is just going to be full of homes and trees, because trees, of course, are homes too. They give shelter. Sorry, look at this. This is for my very first person has asked me to quilt something specific for them. And this is one of the quilts, and I'm using, this will end up being 5 or 6 sides, but this is how it starts. This is my very first Wonky quilt I ever made, Wonky quilt blog. I made this at a G's Bend deal. Of course, look at it. It looks nothing like the G's Bend beautiful artistic quilts, but this is what made me feel good and feel like doing. So I'm working on a whole quilt of things that are similar to this. They're not all this sweet, but all in these earth color tones. I think I'm having a real wanting to be grounded and earth-centered and family, home and hearth. You know, I can really feel that in what I'm quilting. And this too, doesn't this just kind of remind you of what fields look like from an airplane? I just love them. Anyway, I'm not showing you these because I think I'm so great and they need to be shown. I just want to show you so that you understand. Yesterday when I was telling you the kind of strips that I like, oh look, this is all set up for my cutting and quilting that I'm doing. But when I was talking yesterday, pardon the back of my head. Speaking of which, okay, look at this. I'm going to make an adjustment. This is a bald head. Everybody relax. I'm healthy. This is alopecia. It's just hair, people. It's just hair. It's okay. I started losing my hair in my late 20s while I was pregnant. I guess my mid-20s. I was pregnant for my daughter, who is going to be, I believe, 33 this year. So I'm going on 34 years dealing with the hair loss. Look, right now, you can see that I had a really beautiful widow's peak. I have just enough hair that I have to shave it, and sometimes I just don't. And sometimes my husband does it for me, and that's very nice. And I just stopped wearing hair pieces that were made for my head out of real hair, and with my hairline that was especially, it was so much trouble and took months and months, the better part of a year, for new ones to come in, and outrageously expensive, and they were glued to my head, and I could jump into a pool or dive into the ocean, but it was a hassle taking care of them. And then I've worn wigs off and on, and probably about Bentley Jude, stop it, 6-pound poodle dog. It's not getting enough attention here. Bentley, sit down. Sit. Okay, good boy. So, where was I? We just stopped wearing wigs of any kind because this is way more comfortable. And there are days maybe where I feel a little sorry for myself when I see somebody with really great hair. And there are women out there, and men too. I mean, part of this is my karma. I married a man with perfect hair. The older he gets, the better his hair looks. I'm not lying. Once a week, some man walks up to my husband and tries to pull him away from wherever there are other people to ask him what he's dyeing his hair with. And I have no hair. So, it's just what I'm here to deal with. This is one of my things. So, anyway, let's get back to talking about fabric. Anyway, so when I go out on a fabric hunt to my local quilting stores, of which I'm lucky, I live in a mid-sized city, a smaller mid-sized city. I mean, we're not like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, not like that. the city that I live in is Lafayette, Louisiana, and it's large enough that we have the ballet, and we have really beautiful chamber music, and of course we have the Cajun culture and the Zydeco and the Creole culture, and great big city culture-like things. However, if you have a flat tire, somebody will stop and help you with that, and they know your mama, or your Aunt Betty, or your Tinonk. Tinonk means little uncle. We do that here. We give people little, big and little names. Okay, so when you're going and you're buying fabric like this, if you're working from a pattern and you're buying yardage, who's going to buy this? Nobody but me. Because when I am making little bitty greeby quilts, the greebies, crumbs, all of this is very, very powerful. Powerful, I don't know why. Why did I use that word? This is a very bad scene. It's busy. Anyway, so I have some really great things to work on with these fabrics that I just purchased over the weekend in good New Orleans, actually Jefferson Parish. And where I bought these, where they're located, is called Old Jefferson because it's the oldest part of the city. And it still has a real, I would say, almost 1960s kind of vibe to it. Lots of good food there too. It's just about 30-40 minutes out of the downtown, the CBD, the Central Business District of New Orleans. So when I was in town at Tulane University, which is uptown, you just have to go. It's by Audubon Park. It's in, I'm going to say, the part of the city that is full of old oak trees and beautiful 2- or 3-story cypress homes, and the cypress came from ships that came into the port. It's just lovely. There are birds and squirrels in that part of the city, and it was just beautiful. I don't know why I'm talking about the earth today. I think talking about my home and hearth got me started. But I'd said that we would talk about being left-handed today and rotary cutters. Now, I was born in the early 60s, so by the time I started school it was along about the late 60s, and really people really felt like right was right, and that was wrong. People, I think before I came along, and probably maybe I was one of the last generations where adults, well-meaning adults, educators, everybody tried to shift left-handed people, little children, to learn to use their right hand. Like somehow, if you were writing with your right hand, that was better. Like, what the stuff is that about? Really? So when you take away a person, especially from a little child, that what their instinct is to do, to take control of something and hold it in their left hand and be able to control it. The person says, no, put that down. Do it with your right, where you're not as strong, where you feel clumsy, where you're not at your best. What that does is tell a person to not trust their gut. So when they meet a person that makes them feel unsafe, they're like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, my instincts aren't correct. Whatever my instinct is, I'm supposed to do opposite of. You see, that's very dangerous. And I think we've had several generations of people who don't trust their instinct of what their own knowledge is, what their own opinion is. It's just been very bad. Thank goodness we've learned enough that we would never do that now. And in fact, left-handed people now are associated with the arts, with creativity, with being in the flow. So please don't shift people out of what their natural inclination is. Okay. soapbox girl. After that, what happened is I learned how to use scissors, right-handed scissors, because I'm sure that there were plenty of left-handed scissors in the mid to late 60s, but I did not have access to them. I just learned how to use my right hand, so I'm really ambidextrous. I think to be a true ambidextrous person, you have to be able to write your name as well with your other hand as you do the hand that you prefer. I cannot do that. However, I use a fork with my right hand. I bat right-handed. I bowl right-handed. It's a big heavy ball. I use my right hand for power, and I use my left hand for finesse. So my left hand is used for soft, exacting, precision things, and my right hand is what I would put up to protect my face. Actually, it's my stronger arm. So when I started to use these and with one blade, it's a different operation than a pair of scissors or shears. It just is. And I evidently, where the camera is, I have to lift my arm up, but I evidently lean my wrist to the right or to the left. I do it with both hands. I cannot get this right. I have gone through so many rotary cutters, so many different kinds, because I can't get a clean cut. That's an issue for me. I want a precision cutting instrument. Now I'm going to tell you, I've given away like about 4. And these are not, I mean, okay, they're not outrageous. These are all, this model is under 20 bucks, like about $19. But I mean, okay, it's $20. I've given away about $100 worth of these things. This, the Olfa, can you see that? This is what I found that's the best. I have had other brands, I'm just not even going to mention all the other brands, that have the same cutting mechanism. This does not matter. I mean, it doesn't matter left or right. It's good. And even if you're holding it completely backwards, you can still see your cutting line once the blade comes out. But the blades that Olfa makes, these are better, okay? Now let me tell you something. I'm doing business with Olfa. Look, Olfa, Olfa, Olfa. I think I have a couple more. We won't tell anybody else about that, but Olfa is not doing business with me. They did not ask me for a review. They do not know who I am. I'm not getting paid. I'm just like the Wonky Quilter in Lafayette, Louisiana, crazily talking about her favorite things. These blades are stronger than my hands are goofy. That's, you know, that says a lot about them. These cut easier than any other blade with a hand that does not know how to properly use it. So I'm getting way many more cut through the whole thing. And I am not a person that folds fabric up into 8. I just don't. I don't need that much big pieces of fabric. A lot of times I'm just going through 1, maybe 2 layers. Maybe. Because again, I'm quilting with little pieces about this big, so it's not like I'm having to fold, you know, yards and yards of fabric up and trying to cut them all. That's not how it is.